think it is the 10 past that we were talking about earlier. That will start at 10 past 11. Welcome all to this media briefing that looks at the decisions of Cabinet. Hence we call it a post-Cabinet briefing. My name is William Baloy. I invite all in the room to join us through making sure that your cell phones, your gadgets are on silent, and also to take this opportunity to welcome those who are joining us online. As we were testing earlier, I think the concerns that you raised, we have resolved them. You will give an indication if our system is still a little bit slow, but I hope that things are now moving with the pace of the briefing. Joining us for sign language interpretation is Refilwe Magandisa. She will be the one who will be doing the sign language interpretation. Joining the Minister in the Presidency is the Acting Director General for GCIS, Mr. Terry Van Dyer, is joining the Minister at the front. Let me take this opportunity to then invite a Minister in the Presidency to take us through the statement. And thereafter, we will then invite the questions, firstly from those that are present at GCIS, but also those who are following us online. You will then post your questions on the media groups that you are joining from. Thank you very much. Minister.
Good morning. This is the post-cabinet briefing for the cabinet meeting that took place on Friday, the 5th of December, 2025. And this was the last cabinet meeting for the year, unless a special cabinet meeting is convened by the President. On issues from the environment, on the economy, we start with the Eskom turnaround that is gaining momentum. Cabinet welcomed continuing improvement in Eskom's financial and operational performance for the first 6 months ending September 2025. Eskom recorded a profit of 24.3 billion after tax, which is 37% higher than the same period in 2024. In the same period, Eskom delivered consistent energy supply with only 4 days of load shedding. Electricity supply reliability stood at 96% in 2024-25 financial year, improving to 98% year to date. Eskom's solid performance demonstrates the efficacies of Eskom's recovery plan initiated under Operation Vulindlela Structural Reforms Program, the level of competence of Eskom's management team and its board, and the focused leadership of the Minister of Electricity and Energy under the guidance of the President. South Africa's economy remains on positive momentum with GDP and employment growth. Cabinet welcomed the positive momentum in the economy as indicated by the third quarter GDP figures that were released by Statistics South Africa. The GDP grew by 0.5% in the period July to September 2025, marking the fourth consecutive quarter of expansion, driven by strong performances in mining, agriculture, and services, and contributions from finance, government services, and manufacturing. The GDP growth in the third quarter of 2025 was accompanied by an increase in employment, which increased by 248,000 jobs, and a decrease in unemployed people by 360,000 people, as announced in the Quarterly Labour Force Survey, Quarter 3. In addition, the Youth Employment Service, or the YES initiative, which provides young people with pathways into the economy, has now reached 200,000 jobs milestone. Today, YES has placed over 202,558 young South Africans in 12-month quality work experiences, and it is supported by more than 1,900 corporate partners. Furthermore, IMF has just lifted South Africa's growth forecast to 1.3% in 2025 and 1.4% in 2026, up from earlier projections of 1.1% and 1.2% respectively. On international relations, South Africa leverages G20 presidency to direct world leaders' focus on Africa and the global South's development. Cabinet joined President Cyril Ramaphosa in extending its appreciation to all South Africans for their role in ensuring our successful G20 presidency, which culminated in the recently hosted G20 Leaders Summit. During our G20 presidency, South Africa firmly placed Africa's development agenda in the purview of G20 leaders and mobilize consensus on meaningful actions to address the challenges constraining South Africa, Africa, and the global South's development. For more information on this, visit South Africa's G20 website, which is www.g20.org.za. Cabinet noted the recent position of the United States regarding South Africa's participation in the upcoming G20 Sherpa meeting and the expressed intentions to exclude South Africa, a G20 founding member, from participating in the 2026 G20 meetings. While this development is regrettable, as a founding member, South Africa's commitment to the G20 principles and collaborative framework remain unwavering. The 2025 G20 summit demonstrated the power of multilateralism and cooperation, and Cabinet remains confident that multilateralism and cooperation are the path to shared prosperity for all people of the world. IPSA's leaders continue to champion the Global South Development Agenda. Cabinet welcomed the successful hosting of the India-Brazil-South Africa IPSA Leaders Meeting on the margins of the G20's Leaders Summit. At IPSA, South Africa called for a reinvigoration of South-South cooperation to drive inclusive growth, advance sustainable development, and accelerate the reform of global governance institutions. IPSA nations are well positioned to champion the priorities of the Global South, including scaling up climate finance, enhancing food and health security, supporting foundational learning, and mobilizing investment for disaster risk reduction. The fourth Binational Commission meeting between South Africa and Mozambique, which focused on accelerating implementation of the BNC decision. President Cyril Ramaphosa led South Africa's delegation to the fourth South Africa-Mozambique Binational Commission meeting in Maputo, Mozambique. The fourth BNC reached agreement through 99 decisions with implementation timeframes in areas ranging from economic cooperation and development, diplomatic cooperation, safety and security, and social development. Presidents Ramaphosa and Chapo directed the ministers of both countries to ensure tangible progress with implementation of the fourth BNC decisions. Progress in the implementation of the decisions will be reported during the fifth BNC meeting in South Africa in 2026. The two presidents also officiated the official launch of the Sasol hydrocarbons processing integrated infrastructure in Hansoro town in Inyambane province on the 3rd of December 2025. On safety and security, we are winning the battle against crime as statistics indicate a decline across crime categories. Cabinet welcomed a reported decline in crime across most crime categories according to the South African Police Service's released crime statistics for the first and second quarters of 2025 financial year. The crime statistics covering the period from April to June and July to September 2025 show significant reductions in serious and violent crime, with murder rates dropping substantially. Murders decreased by 6.5% in the first quarter and by 11.5% in the second quarter. Cabinet commended law enforcement agencies for the continuing hard work against crime and calls upon society to join the fight against crime. Cabinet decisions. Implementation plan to drive growth and inclusion. Cabinet approved the implementation plan to drive growth and inclusion based on the priorities of the 7th Administration's Medium-Term Development Plan. The plan aims for a coordinated and focused implementation of prioritized economic development interventions which were designed under multiple initiatives. The core pillars of the plan are economic reforms to fix the fundamentals of the economy, public service reforms to build a state that delivers, and industrial policy reforms to pursue new areas of growth. The focused and prioritized implementation will give the plan the same impetus of the structural reforms program under Operation Vulindlela. Critical mineral strategy for South Africa, the implementation plan. Cabinet approved the critical mineral strategy implementation plan, which details a roadmap to leverage opportunities in mineral wealth arising from the surge in demand for critical minerals due to their increased applications in digital technology, defense, healthcare, consumer electronics, and electric vehicles, amongst others. The implementation plan focuses on 6 pillars, which are geoscience mapping and exploration, 2, value addition and localization, 3, research, development and innovation, 4, infrastructure and energy security, 5, financial instruments, and 6, regulatory harmonization. The implementation of the critical mineral strategy will significantly contribute to economic growth and job creation. Draft revised white paper on citizenship, immigration, and refugee protection. Cabinet has approved the draft revised white paper on citizenship, immigration, and refugee protection for public consultations. The revision builds on the final white paper on citizenship, immigration, and refugee protection approved by Cabinet in 2024, updating certain policy propositions and adding detailed guidance on proposals contained in the original version. Key enhancements of the white paper include integration of recommendations from Operation Vulindlela's report on visa policy reforms and additional clarity and detail to strengthen implementation of immigration and citizenship policies. The revised white paper aims to ensure a coherent, modernized approach to citizenship, immigration, and refugee protection that supports national development and national security objectives, including the first safety country principle, which encourages refugees to seek protection in the first country they reach that is considered safe. The medium-term plan biannual progress reports. Cabinet received and considered the biannual progress reports on the implementation of the 2024-2029 Medium-Term Development Plan for April to September 2025. The reports provided an overview of the government department's performance over the 6-month period, highlighting areas of performance successes as well as areas where delivery is lagging or facing obstacles. Cabinet deliberated these findings and emphasized the need for continued focus on improved implementation. Further in-depth briefings will be provided by the Minister of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, together with the co-chairpersons of Cabinet clusters. National Strategy to Accelerate Action for Children. Cabinet approved the National Strategy to Accelerate Action for Children, a strategy that aims to accelerate action for the welfare and development of children and adolescents across South Africa. The strategy focuses on closing the food gap, stimulating language and learning in every young child, protecting children and teenagers through reduction of substance abuse, timer screening and referring children with hearing and visual disabilities and building identity and agency for children. The strategy emphasizes collaboration and shared responsibility to ensure that every child has the opportunity to thrive. Members of the public can access the strategy on the Department of Social Development website, www.dsd.gov.za. The 5th National Plan of Action for Children, 2025-2030. Cabinet approved the 5th National Plan of Action for Children, 2025-2030, which ensures implementation of the national strategy to accelerate action for children that we just approved. This is a strategic framework to address the rights, needs, and well-being of children in the country. The plan aligns with the international frameworks, particularly the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child and national legislation, including the Constitution and the Children's Act of 2005. Building on progress since 1996, the 5th National Plan of Action Plan provides a comprehensive roadmap to protect and promote children's rights, recognizing persistent challenges while reaffirming government's commitment to creating a better future for the country's most vulnerable children. Key focus areas include empowering every child as a rights-bearing active citizen, strengthening systems and partnerships to ensure holistic child development, and addressing priority areas that improve health, education, safety, and social inclusion. The NPAC reflects a collaborative approach between government and partners to ensure that all children are recognized, empowered, and enabled to thrive. The plan can be found in the website of the Department of Employment and Labor, which is www.del.gov.za. Program of Action to address gender-based violence and femicide. Cabinet approved a comprehensive program of action to address gender-based violence and femicide, including a service delivery framework and institutional arrangements to drive a whole-of-society approach in addressing the GBVF scourge. The comprehensive program of action focuses on the implementation of the following 5 priority areas. Prevention, that is 1. Prevention and rebuilding social cohesion, that is 1, which focuses on eliminating social acceptance of violence and addressing structural drivers. Greater effort will be made to engage men and boys in prevention dialogues to dismantle harmful norms and toxic masculinity. 2. Enhance law enforcement protection, safety, and justice, aimed at strengthening the criminal justice system to ensure protection and justice for survivors. Expanded victim-friendly facilities and specialized GBV desk at South African Police Services stations are part of this effort. Victim and survivor-centered support, which seeks to provide equitable access to high-quality services across justice, health, and education sectors. Emphasis is in an integrated support system that prioritizes dignity, healing, and empowerment, ensuring survivors receive comprehensive care without discrimination or delay. 4th, communication and stakeholder engagement and mobilization, which focuses on transforming social norms at all levels through consistent, evidence-based messaging. It aims to challenge harmful attitudes, promote gender equality, and mobilize communities to actively participate in ending GBVF. 5th, institutional arrangements, which ensure strong governance and accountability mechanisms across all spheres of society, and calls for firm, coordinated leadership and clear institutional roles to drive implementation, monitor progress, and enforce accountability. Victims of violence are encouraged to use the 24-hour Gender-Based Violence Command Center hotline, which is 0800 428 428, to report abuse and access support services. Draft National Open Science Policy. Cabinet approved the Draft National Open Science Policy, which is a proposed framework designed to guide the country's approach to open science. Open science refers to the practice of making scientific research, data, and processes accessible to the public and broader scientific community. The policy aims to promote transparency, collaboration, and innovation in scientific research, while addressing national priorities and aligning global trends. A central goal is to enhance the availability of research outputs, including findings, publications, data, and tools for researchers, policymakers, students, and the public. The policy advocates for collaborative research both within South Africa and with international scientific communities, and encourages global partnerships through open data sharing. By fostering openness and inclusivity, the approved open science policy positions South Africa to advance scientific progress and innovation for societal benefits. Excuse me. Report on the performance of Research and Development Tax Incentive Program for the financial year 2022-2023. Cabinet approved the performance report of the 2022-2023 Research and Development Tax Incentive Program to be tabled in Parliament. Government offers R&D tax incentive in terms of Section 11D of the Income Tax Act of 1962 to encourage private sector R&D activities. The incentive is based on 150% tax deduction on approved operational expenditure incurred on research and development activities, making it one of the most generous research and development incentives globally. In 2022-2023, the program received 188 project applications from 77 companies with total planned research and development expenditure estimated at 1.5 billion rands. Most applications were received from large companies with an annual turnover of 100 million rands and above. The highest number of project applications came from Gauteng, followed by Western Cape and KwaZulu-Natal. Draft regulations related to institutions as national research facilities and regulations to the Declaration of Research Institutions. Cabinet approved the publication for comments the draft regulations on the establishment and governance of national research facilities and draft regulations on the Declaration of Research Institutions. These regulations provide a framework to identify eligible research institutions for purposes of funding, national priority alignment, data sharing, and oversight. The framework seeks to identify institutions that possesses a public research mandate, appropriate infrastructure, capabilities, expertise, and services that advance the national system of innovation, support the national research agenda, and fulfill the mandate of the National Research Foundation. The proposed regulations aim to strengthen governance and ensure that research institutions play a strategic role in driving innovation and supporting South Africa's development objectives. On bills, Draft Gas Bill 2025, Cabinet approved the submission of the Draft Gas Bill 2025 to Parliament for further processing. The bill seeks to repeal the Gas Act of 2001 and introduce a modernized legislative framework that reflects recent technological developments in gas transportation and storage. The bill also addresses challenges experienced in the implementation and enforcement of the current Act by positioning South Africa to better manage its gas resources and infrastructure in line with global best practices and national energy priorities. The bill empowers the National Energy Regulator of South Africa to set, monitor, and regulate distribution tariffs, regulate the registration regime, and to determine suitable period for licenses. The bill also seeks to provide empowering provisions for a centralized strategic planning regarding new gas facilities, particularly the transmission and regasification facilities that form the backbone of gas importation and bulk transportation to ensure national energy security. Natural Scientific Professions Bill 2025. Cabinet approved the publication of the Natural Scientific Professions Bill 2025 for public comments. The main objective of the bill is to update and replace the Natural Scientific Professions Act of 2003, which regulates natural science professions in the country. The draft bill introduces an updated legal framework for registration, regulation, ethical standards, and scope of practice for natural scientists, with an aim of modernizing governance of the profession, ensuring alignment with current scientific practices and international standards. On appointments, all appointments are subject to verification of qualifications and relevant security clearance. Cabinet approved the following appointments. The extension of contract of Mr. Nkumeleni Victor Vere as the Director General at the Department of Tourism. Approved the extension of contract of Mr. Mbulelo Service Changana as DG of the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. Ms. Mametsi Masemula as Head of Infrastructure, South Africa in the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. Mr. Rian Botha as Deputy Director General, Facilities Management in the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. Cabinet concurred to the following appointments. Cabinet concurred to the appointment of Mr. Themba Ngubeni as the Chief Executive Officer of Mzimvubu Tsitsikama Catchment Management Agency. Mr. Nketeleni Norman Engidi as the CEO of the Film and Publication Board. Mr. Mahatu Melo as the Managing Director of the State Information Technology Agency, SITA. Cabinet further concurred to the following board appointments. The Director to the Board of Eskom, the concurrence was for Ms. Thandeka Zondi Mthembu. Cabinet concurred to the appointment of Ms. Thuli Magele and Advocate Matifo Joyce Majodina to the Board of the National Radioactive Waste Disposal Institute. Cabinet concurred to the appointment of non-executive directors on the board of the South African Maritime Safety Authority, who are Advocate Vusumuzi Sehau as the chairperson, Mr. Mervyn Burton as the deputy chairperson, Dr. Owen Peter Muller Howood, Mr. Sandile Keswa, Dr. Natalia Skapers, and Advocate Nosipo Sobekwa. Cabinet further concurred to the appointment of members to the Central Energy Fund Board as follows: Advocate Lindelwa Nobantu Nziba, Mr. Neil Johnson, and Mr. Pesley Msingati Madokwe. Cabinet concurred to the appointment to the National Energy Regulator of South Africa of Ms. Rian Govender as the Deputy Chairperson, Mr. Wilbrod Majola, and Ms. Nomfundo Maseti. Cabinet also concurred to the appointment of members to the Companies Tribunal, who are judges: Judge Mohammed Nafsa, Judge Kathleen Seichwell, Judge Robert Nugget, Judge Bosi Henry Mba, and Judge Visvanath Ponan. Members of the South African Council for Space Affairs, who are Advocate Lutando Simpiwe Nkumatela as the chairperson, Dr. Maria Ria Nonyana Mukabane as deputy chairperson and who's also a DTIC representative, Advocate Icho Kioletsi Matlou, Mr. Shafki Amiddin Ali, Mr. Kibidizwe Midupi, Mr. Sidney Lindell Pence, Mr. Vincent Mulawa Mwajana, Dr. Reshma Matura, Mr. Ntlantla Michael Mabaso, Mr. Itumeleng Makula as the representative of the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation, Dr. Sarisha Herilal, Ms. Yolanda Ngumalo, Mr. Frank Mnisi as the representative of the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies, Colonel Tamara Thomas Haywells as the representative of the Department of Defense, and Mr. Livas Mabaso as the representative of the Department of Transport. Members to the Board of Land Affairs, the concurrence is for Ms. Lusanda Nomasango Neshtenje as the chairperson, Ms. Precious Tlengiwe Makwe as the deputy chairperson, Advocate Anthony Michael Fivias, Mr. Pierre-Jean Alexander Keba, and Mr. Tsietsi Hamilton Madonsela. Cabinet further concurred to the appointment of members of the Amatole Water Board as follows: Dr. Haster Shapley, chairperson, Ms. Lita Charlotte Geza, deputy chairperson, Ms. Notolo Phoebe Abraham, Ms. Mkolisi Sibam, Ms. Ms. Phumezile Tutuka Songelwa, Mr. Smnikiwe Ngauka, Mr. Nomfundo Princess Dojek, apologies, is Miss Nomfundo Princess Dojek, Mr. Bekuyise Henry Makedama, Miss Nondumiso Pumela Ngonyama, Miss Sinovuyo Ngumbela, and Mr. Trevor Blazer. Cabinet also concurred to the appointment of the following members to the Board of Centex: Mr. Temba Piri as the chairperson, and he will serve the remainder of his term in office. Dr. Sylvia Sateche, Dr. Lebogang Mphahlele Tsasa. Also appointment to the Composition Fund Advisory Board: Ms. Dineo Lirutla as chairperson, Ms. Unati Nosipo Mdledle Mkize, Mr. Ernest Thabo Tipa, Ms. Nolita Peterson, Ms. Millie Reuters, Mr. Temminkosi Mkhalipi, Mr. Mohammed Karim, Ms. Lievendra Pillay, Mr. Jean Mahlangu, Ms. Moraro Murudi, Ms. Mamukiti Roslyn Mukwena Radebe, Ms. Frida Monyane Mudau, Ms. Masedi Lonkokile, Mr. Duncan Luvuno, Mr. Juncan Belimki, Mr. Fanukaba, Ms. Teshas Ndlovu, Dr. Nolutando Moyo, Ms. Krishnath Pillay, Mr. Sudshan Pillay, Dr. Tsepo Moses Sidibe, and Mr. Kevin Coley. Cabinet also concurred to the appointments of the SITA chairpersons, who are also accounting authorities: Professor Pafi Soundi for the Agri-SITA, which is the agricultural SITA, Dr. Ntombana Sekapane for the banking SITA, bank SITA, Ms. Karabo Mhlongo Mbele for the CAT SITA, which is the Culture, Arts, Tourism, Hospitality and Sports Sector Education and Training Authority, Mr. Kani Beatrice Nkambule for Chieta, which is the Chemical Industry and Education and Training SITA, Dr. Oloeti Sipuka for the Education, Training and Development SITA, Ms. Muresi Ramonyai Tonga for the Energy and Water SITA, Dr. Dala Pritish for the Finance and Accounting Services SITA, Mr. Siabulela Nkana for the Food and Beverages SITA, for the Ms. Teresa Otto is the FPM SITA. I do not know what that abbreviation is. Oh no, they've given me the clue. The FPM SITA is the Fiber Processing and Manufacturing SITA. Dr. Nomsam Nisi for the Health and Welfare SITA, which is HW SITA. Ms. Refile Matenche for the Insurance SITA. Professor Hussein Rasul for the Manufacturing and Engineering and Related Services SITA. Ms. Emma Mphahlele for the Media, Information and Communications Technology SITA. Dr. Nomusa Zetun for the Mining Qualifications Authority. Dr. Kenneth Maimela for the Safety and for the Public Service SITA, the P-SITA. Mr. Chris Sitlaku for the Safety and Security SITA. Mr. Temba Dlamini for the Transport and Education SITA TETA. Mr. Tulani Sifuta for the Wholesale and Retail SITA. Updates to Cabinet. Cabinet received the following updates on the one on the implementation of 2 human settlements development projects in Gauteng, which are huge. Cabinet noted the progress on implementing 2 major human settlements projects in Gauteng aimed at providing nearly 68,000 households in Lupereng in the city of Johannesburg and Mooikloof in the city of Tshwane. The Lufereng development is envisaged as more than just housing, but a fully integrated community with social and economic amenities including schools, creches, clinics, places of worship, parks, open spaces, business and commercial nodes, and recreational facilities. The minimum housing yield for Lufereng is estimated at 32,636 units. The Mooikloof mega residential development is expected to deliver approximately 50,000 housing units at its completion. These projects are anticipated to create significant employment opportunities during construction and beyond, while also stimulating small business development and local economic growth, which are critical interventions in a country grappling with high unemployment and inequality. We also received an update on South African Science, Technology and Innovation Indicators Report, the 2025 findings. Cabinet noted the findings of the 2025 Science and Technology and Innovation Indicators Report and its key highlights. The report shows that while South Africa has established a solid foundation for a national science and innovation system, this system remains fragmented across government, academia, industry and civil society. This fragmentation, combined with persistent underfunding, limits the country's ability to translate research outputs into commercial products or social innovations. The report calls for stronger integration among government, academia, industry and civil society to drive coordinated investment in science, technology and innovation, with implementing mechanisms that enable the translation of research outputs into tangible economic and social benefits, thereby enhancing South Africa's global competitiveness. The post-school education and training state of readiness. Cabinet was briefed on the state of readiness for the 2026 academic year in the post-school education and training sector. The 2026 application cycle opened in September 2025, earlier than in the previous years, and closed on the 15th of November 2025. Real-time data verification is now fully integrated with the Department of Home Affairs, South African Revenue Services, and the South African Social Security Agency to automate household income and citizenship checks. To strengthen fraud prevention, biometric and fiscal identification measures have also been introduced. Furthermore, National Student Financial Aid Scheme will have full-time capacity at each institution of higher learning during the registration period to support institutions and students with funding-related challenges. A war room will be established and will be made up of representatives from the Department of Higher Education and Training, National Student Financial Aid Scheme, institutions of higher learning and student bodies. This war room will meet weekly to assess challenges and where interventions are needed. In addition, the National Student Financial Aid Scheme has updated its communications protocol to ensure that students receive information quicker online, over the phone, and in person. The National Student Financial Aid Scheme's sustainability. Cabinet received and noted a report on the status of student financial aid and the sustainability of the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. Cabinet acknowledged the systematic challenges that have undermined the stability and credibility of the scheme and endorsed the implementation of agent stabilization measures, including strengthening governance and IT systems and improving disbursement mechanisms. Cabinet further welcomed the progress in consultations with key stakeholders across government, higher education institutions, student formations, and labor. Government agreed that a new sustainable student funding model must be finalized by early 2026 with a focus on long-term affordability, differentiated support for university and TVET students, and improved efficiencies in application, allocation, and appeal processes. Cabinet noted several policy and institutional options under considerations and reaffirmed the centrality of the public financial aid in advancing equitable access to post-school education and training. Tourism Growth Partnership Plan 2025-2030, which aimed at driving inclusive growth and job creation. Cabinet was briefed on the Tourism Growth Partnership Plan 2025-2030, which sets out a 5-year framework to accelerate inclusive, sustainable, tourism-led economic growth. The plan leverages partnerships across public, private, and community sectors to boost international arrivals and domestic tourism, diversify products, create jobs, strengthen resilience, and ensure community benefits. The Cabinet further noted that tourism growth has already surpassed the 2030 targets, including surpassing pre-pandemic tourism receipts and the jobs created. The pre-pandemic is COVID-19 pandemic, with focus on youth and employment. And this plan focuses on improving rural value capture, upgrading infrastructure, and embedding climate-smart practices. The 13th World Conference of Science Journalists. Cabinet noted and welcomed the successful hosting of the 13th World Conference of Science Journalists, which took place from the 1st to the 5th of December 2025. The conference was jointly convened by the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation and the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, and it underscored the critical role of science journalism in addressing global inequalities and strengthening public confidence in science. Upcoming events. Reconciliation Month. South Africa will commemorate Reconciliation Month throughout December, culminating the National Day of Reconciliation on the 16th of December 2025, to be held at the Ngome Museum in Ngutu, KwaZulu-Natal. This year's commemoration will be observed under the theme From Shared Histories to Shared Futures Through New Paths and Innovation, while the 2025 National Day of Reconciliation will be marked under the theme Reaffirming Reconciliation for Future Generations. Reconciliation Month serves as an important reminder that the freedom and democracy we enjoy today were not free. They were directly linked and shaped by South Africa's history of injustice and inequality. However, the country's shared future depends on collective efforts to heal, unite, and innovate together. Messages. We start with a caution against severe weather conditions. Cabinet urges all South Africans to exercise extreme caution amid the severe weather conditions, including heavy rains, thunderstorms, and hailstorms across various parts of the country. Credible weather information can be accessed through the South African Weather Services. Their website is www.weathersa.co.za. On condolences, Cabinet expressed its condolences to the friends and families of former SARS Commissioner, Mr. Oupa Magashule, who steered revenue collection during the challenging 2008 global economic downturn. In his early career, Commissioner Magashule worked as a trade unionist before joining the corporate sector and later the public service. We express our condolences to the family and friends of Judge Leonora van de Heever, the first woman ever to serve as a judge in South Africa. Her pioneering career opened doors for generations of women in law and remains a lasting example of judicial excellence. To the family and friends of Mr. Sani Singh, one of South Africa's most dedicated freedom fighters, who served a 10-year sentence in Robben Island. He contributed immensely to youth development and played a significant role in South Africa's political transition during the advent of democracy. Mr. Dennis Purther, esteemed South African journalist, author, and former editor of several leading publications, including the Daily News. His contribution to shaping media discourse in South Africa will be remembered with great respect. To the family and friends of Dr. Jennifer Glynn, who was an advocate for social justice and made an immeasurable contribution to equal access to education for all and the transformation of society. She also made a significant contribution to shaping and strengthening higher education policy and governance in our country in her roles as a member of the Council for Higher Education Chair and Council and Broad Transformation Forum member at the University of South Africa and the Council member at Salt Lake University. On congratulations, Cabinet extended its congratulations and well wishes to the Springboks for beating Ireland in the Quilter Nations Series 2025 and for remaining undefeated throughout the entire series. The Springboks also concluded the 2025 Castle Lager outgoing tour test season with a 73-0 victory over Wales in Cardiff, remaining unbeaten for a second consecutive year. We also extend our congratulations to the Proteas for making history with their first Test Series victory in India in 25 years. This achievement has strengthened South Africa's position in the ICC World Test Championship 2025 to 2027 standings, where the defending champions currently occupy second place. We also send our congratulations to the matric class of 2025 for their successful completion of their final exams. Cabinet acknowledges the hard work by the Department of Basic Education in delivering exams without major incidences. Marking has officially commenced across designated centers with more than 52,000 markers appointed nationally. We also extend our congratulations to the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research on celebrating its 80th anniversary on the 5th of October 2025. For 8 decades, the CSIR has been at the forefront of scientific and technological innovation, licensing technologies locally and internationally, and delivering solutions that have strengthened the development of a capable state. These include ventilators that saved lives during the COVID-19 pandemic, vaccine certificates enabling international travel, and smart ID cards developed with the Department of Home Affairs, amongst many other achievements of the CSIR. We also congratulate ourselves as South Africa for our re-election to the International Maritime Organization Council, ending a 4-year gap since 2021. The re-election took place at the 34th session of the International Maritime Organization Assembly in London, placing South Africa under Category C for the 2026-2027 term. This category comprises countries with specific interests in maritime transport or navigation, ensuring balanced representation of all major geographic regions worldwide. South Africa will use this position to promote a constructive African perspective in global maritime governance. And finally, we extend our congratulations to the Orlando Pirates Football Club for winning the 2025 Carling Black Label Cup. The strength of domestic soccer is a significant contributor to the growing strength of the national football team Bafana Bafana, who will represent South Africa in the 2026 Soccer World Cup in the United States of America. I was dragged for not congratulating Orlando Pirates. Our last message is our call to South Africans and all people who are going to use our roads to prioritize safety and have shared responsibility for this festive season. Cabinet wishes all South Africans a joyous festive season filled with love, peace, and we wish you safe celebrations with family and loved ones. And for the Christian community, we wish you a Merry Christmas. Cabinet further calls on the public to prioritize safety on the roads, in communities, in public spaces and events during this festive season. The Department of Transport has introduced a new festive season safety strategy to protect drivers, pedestrians and passengers. 800 national road traffic law enforcement officers, supported by various other law enforcement agencies, will be deployed throughout the festive season to monitor compliance with traffic regulations and maintain safety. Additionally, 558 newly trained police officers will be deployed to ensure public safety during this busy period. Road users are reminded to adhere to the rules of the road, cooperate in roadblocks, and refrain from reckless behavior, including drinking and driving, using mind-altering substances, speeding, and using mobile phones while driving. Parents, caregivers, and guardians are encouraged to ensure the children are always supervised and protected from hazardous situations. When traveling, ensure that seat belts are securely fastened and at public venues, keep a close eye on children to prevent accidents or cases of children getting lost or going missing. The public is also warned to remain vigilant against scammers and fraudsters who often exploit the festive season to target unsuspecting individuals. Report any fraudulent activities to the police or relevant authorities immediately. Cabinet reminds everyone that safety is a shared responsibility. Let us all work together to prevent road accidents, injuries and fatalities during this busy period. We wish you a cheerful season and a happy new year. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister, for the comprehensive statement. As you indicated at the beginning, that this was the last sitting of Cabinet, except, of course, if there is a need for a special Cabinet. Can I indicate that the statement will be made available on all our platforms, including, of course, on the media groups that we normally work through? Let me then invite questions. Firstly, I'll start in the house here and then check if we have any online questions. The drill is the same. You'll introduce yourself in the media house and then get on with your questions. And check where you're seated. There is a knob there. You push it to red, then you can speak. Let me then invite questions. I'll note your hand, note the hand, note the third, note the fourth. In that order, now I recognize the hands.
Morning, Minister. It's Alpha. I'm Shana from Eyewitness News. I just want to ask, government keeps mentioning the protection of whistleblowers, but they keep on dying year by year. We recently saw the death of witness D. Maris van Merwe at the Madlang Commission of Inquiry. Do you think government is doing enough to protect its whistleblowers, or is there more that can still be done? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Minister. My name is Lafedile Mulani from ENCA. I've got a few questions. My first question is on witness protection, Madlanga. What do you think is appropriate given the matter of witness D? And the second one is that, do you think South Africa is a state mafia? If not, how would you answer to what has been revealed at Madlanga Commission and the ad hoc committee? And then the other question, it's about the cancellation of the Palestinians' visas, because government has been criticized over that. What's your take on that, Minister? The other one is about...
May she explain what is the criticism?
To say that you cancelled visas of the Palestinians that arrived in the country recently. And the other one is about the G20. I know you touched on it to say that there was a meeting that was held, the Sherpa meeting that was held, and you were not invited. What's the plan now going forward, particularly after what the US President said that you're not going to be invited despite you being the founding member of G20? And earlier on, the last one, you touched on children's protection and so on. Australia has taken a stance on prohibiting children 16 and below from using social media. Could this be on the cards for South Africa too? Those are my questions.
Thank you.
Veronica Mahodi here from Newsroom Africa. I think just to jump away then from my colleagues in regards to the Madlanga Commission, I think they've asked the necessary questions about witness D. But I think, Minister, if we could just get a comment on government's perspective so far. It's come to not necessarily an end, but an end for the year in regards to what has come out from the Commission thus far, what we can expect from next year, but also in particular, if you think the killing of witness D could perhaps hinder the efforts of the Madlanga Commission going forward. And just I think the second question, it's been quite a tumultuous year for the country, both domestically and internationally. What do we say of the continued spread of misinformation when it comes to South Africa's stance and the lies of a white genocide? That seems to not be stopping. Yeah, that's it for now.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Howard Omahoneo from UFM. Regarding this latest question about the white genocide, is there measures that the government is able to take? Are you even allowed legally to take action against people who go and misrepresent the country? We have seen recently the Abatembu King, Dalinchevo, being in Israel. They're even running a social media campaign where their embassy here is hyping him up as representing a view that says South Africa rushed to take a stance against Israel without consulting its citizens, purporting that we are supposedly not in support of that decision. And regarding in particular the behavior of that Israeli embassy here in South Africa, has a decision been taken whether to continue with its closure? Are you backtracking on it? And what do you make of its recent conduct, in particular its social media trolling of the government? And then secondly, is there an update on efforts to get back those 17 people who were reported to have been stuck in war? Have the government satisfied itself that they are indeed trapped, or are they there? Did they go there willingly? Yes, is there any update on that?
Take the last one.
May you come with the last one again? Repeat it.
Whether there's an update on the efforts to get back the people that were said to be trapped in the war zone in Ukraine, and whether the government has satisfied itself that the facts as reported in the media that they were taken there under false guise are true, and that they didn't actually volunteer to fight, especially since there's been other reports to say people are actually being drafted in Kenya, Zimbabwe, and elsewhere voluntarily, who go knowing that they are going to be taken to the frontier.
Thank you very much. I see there is an appetite for further questions from the House, but maybe let me allow the Minister to respond. You might find that now some of the questions that you would want to ask, she's going to respond to them. Minister.
You were too fast to ask questions. I couldn't capture all. Okay, let me start with the G20. The Sherpa meeting has not taken place yet. It's going to start on the 15th and 16th of December. And we have indicated our availability to participate, and we leave it to other members of the G20 to take it up and show a confidence in the G20 system that members cannot be excluded unnecessarily. Our apologies, there's a media house. There's a media house that wants to insert their mic.
Sorry to interrupt.
You need to move quickly. So that is our position. You will recall that there was a last Sherpa meeting which countries has indicated that they will not allow the desegregation of the G20 system, because all members must participate as required as founding participants. So that is our position. And then you indicate that the misinformation is not getting away. The misinformation is only driven from the United States and people here in South Africa who have Solidarity and AfriForum in the main. We see now the king of Abatembu has joined, but it's for the EFF, who the king is their member, to articulate their position as a party whether they agree with the notion that is being and the message that is being communicated, the misinformation that is perpetuated by their king. South Africa does not have to hold the government of South Africa does not have to hold a referendum to implement and take positions globally on matters that are in line with our foreign policy approach, but also guided by the fundamental principles of our constitution. So there was no need, and King Dalindebo knows we have never held a referendum here. You go to election to elect a government to vote, to rule, to govern, and you choose and determine the government fully aware of their election manifestos and their policies. That's why even when the government of national unity was established, we went out with a statement of intent, because it's manifestos of different political parties. So we went out with a statement of intent so that you can have clarities of what are the priorities of this government, which is the 7th administration of South Africa. Then there was a question related to say, with the protection of children, should we follow on Australia's path? We've just tabled our approach on protecting children. Why do you bring in Australia in the midst? They're not even in the African continent. So let's stick to our action plan. We've got the strategy to make sure that children are protected. We protect them from malnutrition. We protect them from, we support them to be active citizens. We protect their rights and their needs. We support their development and learning. Let's focus on South Africa's path, and let's engage on that path. Then there was the question on witness D. So we are making a lot of assumptions. The police are still investigating. So we do not know whether witness D was killed because of the evidence he provided to the Matlanga Commission. In any case, the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development has come out to the public and clarified that the Department of Justice, which is responsible for witness protection, had offered the witness protection services, and he declined such an offer. So if witnesses decline offers, why do we want to criticize the witness protection services? Of course, the witness protection service will never be perfect, but it's a work of continuous improvement. As weaknesses get identified, threats and risks get identified, the system has to be improved. So we can never say it is perfect, but it's work in progress for continuous improvement from lessons, with lessons learned and all the improvement. And you ask the question, the security measures, what will happen to the security measures in the Matlanga Commission? The Commission net joints have indicated that they met, and in their own meeting, they then articulated interventions that they are making to strengthen the security measures of the Commission, and will hear from the Commission themselves what are the decisions that they've made, whether the assessments that will be made by net joints have proven that there are weaknesses in the system, and if those weaknesses are there, of course there will be enhancement, but we'll leave that to the Commission. And there was a question of saying, is South Africa a mafia state? Why would South Africa be a mafia state? And because we run ahead of ourselves and put terms and put labels before we consider the facts. We are in the Matlanga Commission because there were concerns that were raised by General Mkhwanazi, and the President established a commission. If I may remind South Africans and the media in particular, majority of you were saying the establishment of the Matlanga Commission was a waste of money and time. And also the establishment by Parliament of the ad hoc committee, you were saying it was a waste of time and resources. But here we are, and the President in his wisdom indicated that the establishment of the commission is necessary to not only investigate the allegations that are being made by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, but to also further investigate the weaknesses in the criminal justice system, so that we can find measures to deal with to address the weaknesses in that system. And you said, no, it's a waste of time. And now you are saying, oh, is it proving whatever, putting labels? It's the wrong labels that you are putting. Let's allow the commission to make to release their reports. They said they will release their preliminary report, I think, on the 17th of December. Let's give them space to release that report, and government will comment when there has been a preliminary report released by the Commission. We have indicated that we will not provide running commentary to the Commission's work. The report is coming. Let's be patient. We'll deal with the recommendations as they come from the preliminary report. On the young people who are in Russia, there are questions that we have asked which have to deal with law enforcement, and I will not then respond to those, whether we have satisfied that they went under false pretenses and all those. Those are matters that will be ventilated in court. You are aware there are people who have been arrested for taking people out of the country by the Hawks, and allow that process and the court process to take its course. What I can comment on is that we remain engaged with the Russian authorities to return the South Africans who are in Russia. Thank you very much. If there was another question that I omitted, you will remind me. We'll then deal with it in the next round of questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Maybe let me check before I go online if we have any follow-up hands in the House. Going. Go on, let's check for online questions if we have any. I see there is still a very serious caucus there from Sky News. And welcome to this post-cabinet briefing. Thank you very much. TK.
Thanks, Mr. P. We have a couple of questions from online. The first one, I will just present it for the record. Is a question that has already been addressed. It's from Canon Merits from Kasi Broadcasting Corporation, Africa. And the first question is, how will South Africa plead with USA to allow them to attend G20 and World Cup during or in 2026? His second question is, what's the future for the government of national unity now that the MK party puts a vote of no confidence against KZN only? The last one from Merits, it's whether, Minister, you agree or disagree that the GNU needs EFF to be more stable in the provinces of KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng. And the following questions are from Aaron Muroi, representing Good Faith Media. The first one is, Minister, you highlighted the persistent and fragmentation of the scientific enterprise across South African academia, science councils and government departments. Could you please elaborate on the concrete policy instruments, institutional reforms, funding mechanisms, and cross-sectoral coordination frameworks that Cabinet has approved or intends to implement in order to decisively overcome this fragmentation? And furthermore, how will government ensure that the national science, technology, and innovation ecosystem is rapidly aligned with frontier global scientific and technological advances, and that the historically entrenched disconnect between knowledge generation and socio-economic application does not continue to impede inclusive economic growth, industrial development, and the improvement of living conditions, particularly for rural communities and indigent populations who remain heavily dependent on responsive, evidence-driven public institutions and services. Thank you.
Thank you very much, TK, for that lengthy explanation. Maybe let me check in the House if we have any other hand. As I've indicated earlier, that you might find that now the questions you want to ask, the Minister will respond, and I'm happy. It appears, Minister, you responded to the questions that the agitated hands by then were seeking clarity on. On that note, Minister, let us invite you to respond to the last questions, and then you might also give us a sign-off for the festive season. Thank you very much.
And I'm trying to call a friend for one of the questions. Oh, in the previous round, I had not responded to the question around the withdrawal of free visa entry for ordinary Palestinians. As indicated in the statement by the Minister of Home Affairs, he consulted with the security cluster. We realize that the system is being abused, and it forms part of depopulating Gaza, and South Africa is not going to be used to depopulate Gaza. We believe firmly on the course for the freedom of the Palestinian people in a two-state solution. So the people of Gaza must remain in Gaza, and they must get their freedom and protection in Gaza, and the Israeli government must make true to the UN resolution of a two-state, which then is the state of Israel, which is free and protected and safe, and also the state of Palestine, which is free and protected and safe in line with the 1957 borders. That is our position. So any attempts to depopulate the Gaza and any portion of the Palestinian territories will not be supported by South Africa, because and I will not go into the details, but there was an abuse of the system. The people who are coming here are not coming through because of their own free will, and their ability to go back to Gaza is very much in question. It's a single exit out, and they leave, and when they departure, maybe we must, as it's already communicated, they depart from a Israeli military base in Rohan. So they are not coming here because of the plight of the people of Palestine. They are coming here as part of the depopulation of Gaza, and we will not support it. And that's why we have withdrawn the visas, the free visa entry in South Africa. If they want to come, they must apply to come through the normal visa process. Then there was a question of whether we'll plead with the U.S. Why should we plead with the U.S.? We are not in the business of pleading with the USA. We are a sovereign state. They are a sovereign state. They can take their decisions. We'll take the decisions that are in the interest of South African. And we acknowledge that the U.S. is a very strategic trading partner. That's why we continue to engage with them on the trade-related matters on South Africa and matters of mutual interest. The G20 fiasco does not indicate our relations and our ability to engage with the U.S. When they engage with us, we will respond to them, and we engage in the matter and form which they choose to engage. But as a trading partner, we value the U.S. and will continue to pursue mechanism to remain a strategic trading partner for the U.S. And we hope they also know that South Africa remains strategic in their own national interest. And there was a question of the vote of no confidence in KZN. The future of GNU doesn't affect the future of GNU. The ANC and the DA and the PA and Al-Jama and Good and IFP and PAC did not put a vote of no confidence on the Premier of KZN. Those are the parties to the GNU. So the GNU cannot be threatened by actions of a non-party to the GNU agreement. Then there was a question around the fragmentation of scientific enterprise. What we have indicated, we've given you 3 reports: the R&D incentive expenditure. We've given you proposal on how to designate research institutions in line with infrastructure and their capability. We have also, in terms of the draft regulations, as part of that coordination, maybe because your questions are specific, we'll then direct them to the Minister of science, technology and innovation, so that they can then give you the relevant detail. And also you speak about the preparedness of the basic education sector. No, we didn't get a report on the preparedness of the basic education sector. We got a report on the preparedness of the post-schooling education sector, which is higher education. That's what we have detailed. But the Minister of Basic Education, when she announces the matric results, she will also detail the readiness of the basic education sector to receive new entrants, those in grade R and grade 1, and those exiting at grade 7 is at grade 8, the old Form 1. She will detail the readiness of the system to deal with that. Then you ask specifically whether the readiness includes measures and timelines to eliminate coercive and withholding of report cards. Public schools, they do not withhold report cards. When you do not afford to pay school fees, you go and do the necessary applications. So the ones whose report cards are being held are not in the public education system. South Africa provides a free, basic and quality education system which our children must go to and will be able to pay the fees. If we do not afford to pay the fees, there's an option of no fee paying with the necessary applications and approvals. And you are asking about the funding models. We have not discussed the funding models. Higher education will bring the funding models after consulting with the measures that they've introduced. They are going to consult on with the various stakeholders early in the 2026-27 financial year. That's when we'll discuss the funding models and say what is possible. But as it relates to basic education, the funding models, they continue to be revised in line with the MINMEC, which is the Minister MEC Forum, and they will bring the proposal to Cabinet. But we committed to deliver free, basic and quality education in South Africa, so that, and that's why even with the basic education, the BILA Act, it allows us, it now introduces compulsory development phases in early childhood development in education to make sure that our children are ready for the formal schooling system, being trained through formal early childhood development. That's why they've been moved from creches to schools, and we've introduced compulsory grade R and also compulsory early childhood development in the schools. The Minister of Basic Education will articulate how the rollout is going to happen over a period of time. Thank you very much. And let me reiterate the Christmas message of Cabinet to say safety is our shared responsibility. So when we celebrate, irrespective of religion, this festive season, let's take the responsibility of our safety seriously. We want to plead also with the learners who are going, matric learners in particular, who are going to receive their results. If you do not become successful, do not think of ending your life. It's not the end of the world. You can always repeat yourself. But we are also aware that during this period, it poses serious financial strain on parents and those who are providers. We need to remind you that there are free social services in government that you can go for counseling. We know there are serious attempts, in high number of attempts, to take one's life during this period. So we are pleading with you, go and seek help if you think your challenges are insurmountable. But on the roads, don't drink and drive. Drive safely. When you go partying, like we normally do when you do our braais, please act responsibly, but also look after the children. Thank you very much.
Let me also join in wishing you a joyful festive season and a happy new year. This briefing is adjourned. Thank you very much.
when we wanted to sign off the cabinet statement with the translated languages. So I'm trying to get my people to confirm. I know the PENSALB were assisting us to do the translation of the cabinet statement to one or two of the Khoi and San language, indigenous languages that are written, and also isiZulu and isiPedi. So if not today, by tomorrow, you should have the statement translated in those languages. Thank you very much.